Hi everyone, hope you're all having a good day. Today I'm going to share 5 steps. These are the kind of main stages that you need to go through when you stop drinking. It's not necessarily linear one after the other, they can be all kind of cyclical and merged together. But these 5 stages are kind of what you need to go through when you want to stop drinking healthily, happily, and as easily as you can. Okay, step number 1, identify your why. It's really important that you kind of dig around a little bit and unearth the reasons why you were drinking in the first place. What was it that drinking was giving you? You also need to dig around and unearth the reasons why you want to stop and find your motivation for stopping as well. Because when you can paint a really detailed picture about what your life is going to be like, all of the things you're going to be gaining when you're living your happy, sober lifestyle, that's going to really help you to stay motivated in times of challenge and in times of temptation. So understanding why you drink is really important because you need to kind of get to grips with all those reasons why you're drinking. And whatever that motivation is, the things that drinking gives you, you need to find other alternative ways of getting those things in your life. Otherwise, that unconscious part of your mind will keep sabotaging your attempts to get sober. And it's important to understand why you want to get sober. What is it you're going to gain? What are you going to get in your life when you're not drinking anymore? Because you need to hold on to that vision and you need to hold on to how great your life's going to be when you're living it sober in order to motivate and inspire yourself and to plough your way through any tricky patches. Stage number 2. You need to identify what your triggers to drink actually are. Now, what I mean by a trigger to drink is just a situation, an event, or even an emotion where usually you would respond automatically by reaching for a drink. These are your triggers. And it's really important that you identify what your triggers are so that you can prepare for them. You need to develop quite a high degree of self-awareness so that you know what's around the corner, so that you know when you might be at risk of temptation or there might be a challenging time ahead for you. Stage number 3, plan and prepare. When you know you've got triggers coming up or you're going into a situation or event or an emotional situation where you might ordinarily have been tempted to drink, it's really important that you prepare for these situations, that you plan them. Not only do you need to plan what you're going to say to people to get yourself out of tricky situations, so plan the kind of excuses you're going to use for why you're not drinking. So it could be things like, oh, I'm on medication, I can't drink. It could be things like, oh, I'm driving this evening, I'm the designated driver. It could be things like, oh, I've got a really important meeting in the morning and I want to be firing on all cylinders, I need to wake up fresh. It could be that you're training for some kind of sporting or athletic event and you need to be off the booze for a little while. You'll be able to think of reasons that you can give people that you'll be confident with. And it's really important you prepare with those reasons in advance of going into those events and situations. So that's part of the planning and preparation. The other part of the planning and preparation is to actually mentally rehearse going through these situations and events successfully sober. Your brain struggles to tell the difference between what's a memory and what's an imagined event. So when you use your imagination to kind of mentally rehearse being successful at something, it sort of tricks your brain into believing that it's kind of real, that it's possible. You plant the seeds of possibility by simply imagining yourself doing something successfully. So by mentally rehearsing, sailing through this upcoming event or situation like a breeze, really successfully sober, happily and confidently sober, you actually create the likelihood of that reality happening in the future. So 2 ways of preparing and planning. 1, come up with the things that you might need to say and do rather than leave it to panicking on the spur of the moment. And 2, actually mentally rehearse doing it and succeeding doing it sober. Stage number 4, heal yourself from within. Many people who have developed an unhealthy relationship with alcohol have some kind of wound that the alcohol has become a bit of a plaster for. So it could be that they've experienced some kind of trauma in their lives, or it could be that they have simply developed some unhelpful or limiting beliefs about themselves from early childhood. The way that they've processed the world around them as they were growing up, they've developed some unhealthy beliefs about themselves that have been repeated often enough that they've become embedded and unconscious. And so, of course, when trauma happens to us, or when we repeatedly tell ourselves negative things about ourselves, it's kind of like we're emotionally wounded. And so it's no surprise that we reach for something outside of ourselves, like alcohol, to help plaster over that wound, to help make us feel better. It's almost like a medicine. And one of the things that we need to do in order to successfully and easily let go of the alcohol and stop needing to take that medicine, to take the plaster off the wound, is we need to deal with the wound itself. That wound, although it's been plastered over, it's probably started, the blood has started to seep through, maybe the plaster's peeling away at the edges, maybe the wound has even become infected because it hasn't been allowed to breathe, it's had no air getting to it. So the important thing with these emotional wounds is that we need to let some air get to them. We might even need to examine them, and we need to allow them to heal, to kind of bleed a bit and to scab over in order that they can properly heal. And when they've properly healed, we have no need to put a plaster on them anymore. And so that's quite a useful metaphor to describe what goes on for many of us when we have an unhealthy relationship with alcohol. We're really just plastering over an emotional wound of some sort. So we need to deal with that emotional wound in order to lose the reasons or the motivation to drink, the need to reach for a drink. Now, for some people, that might be as simple as just developing a more healthy, loving, and a kinder relationship with themselves. And actually, it's relatively easy to do that simply by sitting still, being with yourself, connecting with yourself, doing some breathing, and just being present and still in the moment for a few minutes each day. Some people like to call this meditation, and some people like to call it mindfulness, and some people might not refer to it in that way at all. It's just simply a way of connecting with yourself. And doing something like that on a regular basis can really help you to develop that healthier relationship with yourself. For other people, that wound might need a little bit more care and attention. So it might need, if for instance you've had some kind of traumatic experience happen to you, you might actually need to have some therapy or go through some counselling in order to heal the wound and to come out the other side of that. So it depends on your personal situation. But it's really important to heal yourself from within in order to reduce the need to reach for alcohol. And stage number 5, it's really important to surround yourself, bolster yourself with a supportive community. Now, it might be that you've got some really supportive people in your life who can be your support network, who can be your supportive community, or it might be that you need to look for something online. But it's really important to be inspired and motivated by other people. It's really important to feel validated by a non-judgmental and an understanding response to the kind of stories you're sharing and the experiences you're sharing. It's really important to have a safe space where you can share your progress, share your experiences, and share little bits of you. Now, when all of those 5 things are in place, it's actually a piece of cake to get yourself sober. But you might need to play around a little bit initially to find ways of incorporating these 5 things into your life. And of course, once you're working through these 5 stages and you've got them in place and you've become sober, the benefits are absolutely enormous. I've listed them elsewhere, but just as a quick recap, obviously you reduce your risk of some of the serious physical diseases and illnesses associated with heavy drinking. You get a better night's sleep. You have more energy during the day. You have better brain function. You have better concentration. You're sharper. You're firing on all cylinders. You have better memory. You also have clearer skin and better hair. Some people even report that their teeth improve. The colour on their teeth improves. You get better mental and emotional health. Any symptoms of things like, for instance, anxiety or depression are greatly alleviated if you've had a problematic relationship with alcohol and you stop drinking. So there are all sorts of benefits to quitting, not the least of which is that you save lots of money. Okay, I'm going to leave it there. I'll look forward to catching up with you soon. And in the meantime, let's go get sober together.